My wife cheated on me with my best friend, so I let them have their perfect life while I built a business empire, and now they're bankrupt and want my help, but I just laughed in their face. I, 38M, never thought I'd be writing this story, but recent events have made me realize how far I've come from the broken man I was 7 years ago. Back then, I was working 60-hour weeks at a small software company, living in a modest apartment with my wife Sarah, 36F, and trying to build what I thought would be our dream life together. Sarah and I met in college during our junior year. She was the kind of person who lit up every room she entered, and I fell hard for her ambitious personality and drive. We met at a campus coffee shop where I was working part-time to pay for my tuition. She'd come in every morning at exactly 7:45 a.m., order the same drink, vanilla latte with an extra shot, and study until her first class. I spent 3 months working up the courage to talk to her beyond just taking her order. We married young, at 24, right after graduation. Everyone said we were rushing things, but we were so sure we had it all figured out. I took entry-level programming jobs to support her through law school, often working 2 or 3 contracts at once. I'd stay up late debugging code while she studied for her exams, both of us fueled by cheap coffee and big dreams. Looking back, I can see how proud I was to be the one supporting her ambitions. I honestly believe that every overtime shift, every missed weekend, every extra project was an investment in our future together. My best friend Tom, 38M, was there through it all. He was my best man at our wedding and we'd been inseparable since high school. We met in freshman year when we were paired up for a science project. He was the outgoing, confident kid who seemed to have everything figured out, while I was the quiet nerd who preferred computers to people. Somehow, we clicked. We spent countless weekends gaming, talking about girls, and dreaming about our futures. He was the brother I never had, and I trusted him completely. When Sarah came into my life, Tom was genuinely happy for me. He helped me plan the proposal, spent hours helping me pick out the perfect ring, and gave what everyone said was the best man speech they'd ever heard. He even helped me land the job at the software company where we both worked. The first 5 years of marriage were good, or at least I thought they were. We had our routines, Sunday brunches where we'd talk about our dreams, summer vacations we carefully saved for all year, quiet evenings where we'd both work on our laptops but just enjoy being in the same room. Sarah would bring me coffee when I was coding late, and I'd surprise her with her favorite takeout when she had a big case. We weren't perfect, but we were building something together. Or so I believed. After law school, Sarah landed a position at a prestigious law firm, and I was steadily climbing the corporate ladder. We were saving for a house, talking about starting a family, all the things you're supposed to do. But looking back now, I can see the signs I missed. It started with Sarah working later and later hours at the firm. At first, it was just an hour here and there, normal for a junior associate trying to make her mark. Then it became dinner meetings that couldn't be rescheduled, weekend work sessions that couldn't wait, client emergencies that always seemed to pop up on our date nights. I started keeping track, though I hate to admit it. In the last 3 months before everything fell apart, we'd had dinner together exactly 7 times. 7 dinners in 90 days, when we used to barely miss a single night. She'd come home exhausted, barely speaking to me before going to bed. I'd try to be understanding, law is a demanding field, after all. I'd make her dinner, keep it warm, try to be the supportive husband. Meanwhile, Tom was becoming increasingly distant too. He'd cancel our weekly gaming sessions, stop showing up for group events, always with some vague excuse. Then came the day that changed everything. I had been preparing for weeks for a major presentation to our biggest client. I'd rehearsed it countless times, fine-tuned every slide, and even bought a new suit for the occasion. The presentation went better than I could have hoped, the client loved our proposal, and my boss was so impressed he gave me the rest of the day off to celebrate. It was the kind of victory I'd always wanted to share with Sarah. Throughout the presentation, I kept thinking about how proud she would be, how we'd celebrate together that evening. I even stopped at her favorite wine shop to pick up a bottle of the champagne we'd had at our wedding. I decided to surprise Sarah with lunch at her office. When I arrived, her secretary gave me an odd look and said Sarah was in a meeting. As I turned to leave, I heard familiar laughter coming from the break room, Sarah's laugh, mixed with another voice I knew all too well. I found them there, my wife and best friend, in an embrace that left no doubt about their relationship. The worst part wasn't even catching them, it was the look on Sarah's face. Not guilt, not shame, but annoyance at being interrupted. I guess we should talk, she said, straightening her skirt like this was just another business meeting. The next few hours were a blur of revelations, each one hitting harder than the last. They'd been seeing each other for over a year, meeting in hotels during their late meetings and business trips. All those times Sarah had been too tired to talk, all those weekends Tom couldn't make our gaming sessions, they'd been together, building their relationship while systematically destroying mine. They had it all planned out, they'd wait until Sarah made partner, then they'd tell me together, make it seem mutual and amicable. My promotion had just accelerated their timeline. The worst part was listening to them justify it. Sarah talked about how we'd grown apart, how she and Tom had a deeper connection. Tom kept saying he never meant for this to happen and that these things are complicated. They spoke in practice phrases that sounded like they'd been rehearsing this conversation for months. Maybe they had. They were in love. They wanted to do the right thing by telling me. Tom even had the audacity to say he hoped we could all remain friends. I sat there, listening to them destroy my life while acting like they were doing me a favor by being honest. I'd like to say I had some dramatic reaction, that I yelled or threw things or punched Tom. Instead, I just felt numb. I nodded, stood up, and walked out. I went home, packed a bag, and checked into a hotel. Then I did something that surprised even me. I laughed. A real, genuine laugh at the absurdity of it all. That night, I made a decision. I wouldn't fight them. I wouldn't make a scene. I would give them exactly what they wanted, their perfect life together. I filed for divorce the next day, agreed to Sarah's terms without argument, and even wished them well at the final hearing. They seemed almost disappointed by my calm acceptance. What they didn't know was that I had a plan. You see, while working those long hours at the software company, I'd been developing something on the side, a revolutionary cybersecurity protocol that could protect against a new type of network attack. The company had passed on it when I pitched it to them, saying it was too speculative. Tom, as my supervisor, had been particularly dismissive. So I took my severance package and every penny I had saved, which wasn't much after the divorce settlement, and moved to a different city to start my own company. I found a tiny studio apartment in a less than ideal neighborhood, the kind of place where you hear every argument through the walls and the hot water works maybe half the time. My furniture consisted of a mattress on the floor, a folding table that served as both my desk and dining table, and a single chair I found on the curb. But I had my laptop, my code, and an obsessive drive to prove everyone wrong. I worked in a local coffee shop during the day to pay the bills, coding through my breaks and late into the night at my apartment. The baristas started saving day-old pastries for me because they could see how little I was eating. One of them, Maria, would occasionally bring me actual home-cooked meals, saying I reminded her of her son in college. Those small kindnesses kept me going when everything else seemed impossible. The first year was brutal, living in a tiny studio apartment, working 18-hour days, eating ramen noodles to survive. But I had something I'd never had before, total clarity of purpose. While Sarah and Tom posted about their perfect life on social media, their dream house in the suburbs, their expensive vacations to the Maldives and Switzerland, their fairy tale wedding at the same venue where we had married, I was building something real. Each notification of their latest adventure would ping on my phone. I couldn't bring myself to unfollow them completely, and each time, I'd channel that pain into my work. I watched through my screen as they built the life that was supposed to be mine. They bought the Tudor-style house Sarah and I had always talked about, complete with a wraparound porch where we'd planned to have our morning coffee. They adopted a golden retriever, just like the one Sarah and I had picked out a name for but never got around to getting. They even went to all the restaurants and vacation spots Sarah and I had put on our someday list. But while they were playing house with my dreams, I was creating new ones. Every line of code I wrote, every investor meeting I nailed, every small victory in building my company became a brick in the foundation of my new life. I stopped measuring success by the standards Sarah and I had set together, the house, the car, the vacations, and started measuring it by my own innovation, impact, independence. My protocol caught the attention of a major tech company just as a wave of cyber attacks proved its value. Suddenly, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. 5 years after the divorce, my company was valued at over $200 million. The irony wasn't lost on me that my lowest point had led to my greatest success. My protocol had become the industry standard, and we were expanding faster than I could hire people. I had a team of over 200 employees across 3 continents, and every major tech company wanted to either buy us or partner with us. The success brought attention I wasn't used to. Suddenly, I was being featured in tech magazines and asked to speak at conferences. People who'd never given me a second glance were now calling me a visionary and an innovator. It was surreal to walk into high-level meetings and see executives who made more in a month than I used to make in a year treating me like a peer. I bought the penthouse because one of my board members said it would help with investor confidence, but I rarely spent time there. Most nights, I still found myself working late at the office, ordering takeout, and falling asleep on my couch. Old habits die hard, I guess. The only real luxury I allowed myself was a top-of-the-line coffee machine, a reminder of where I started and how far I'd come. I had offices in 3 countries and a reputation as one of the most innovative minds in cybersecurity. I bought a penthouse in the city, not because I needed it, but because I could. I dated occasionally but found I preferred focusing on my work and myself. Then, 2 weeks ago, I got an email from Tom. The software company had been hit hard by the economic downturn. They'd had to lay off most of their staff, him included. Sarah's law firm had merged with a larger one, and she'd been deemed redundant. They were struggling to pay their mortgage, had maxed out their credit cards trying to maintain their lifestyle, and were facing bankruptcy. Tom asked if I could find a position for him in my company. Sarah sent a separate email apologizing for everything and suggesting we catch up over coffee. I thought about ignoring them, but instead, I sent a simple reply. I'm afraid we don't have any positions available at your level. However, we do have an entry-level QA testing role open. The starting salary is $35,000 a year. Let me know if you'd like to apply. Tom's response was exactly what I expected: anger, accusations that I was being petty, desperate reminders of our past friendship. Sarah's was more desperate, suggesting we could work something out that would benefit everyone. I didn't respond to either message. Yesterday, I received a letter from their lawyer, claiming Tom had contributed to the initial development of my security protocol and demanding compensation. The irony was almost painful, the same protocol he had dismissed as too theoretical and not commercially viable during our weekly project reviews. I still had all the original code commits, documentation, and the email chain where Tom had not only dismissed the entire project but had actively discouraged me from pursuing it further. "We need practical solutions, not pipe dreams," he had written in one particularly condescending email. "Focus on maintaining our existing systems instead of chasing unicorns." I had printed that email and kept it framed in my office as motivation during the hardest days of starting my company. What made their claim even more absurd was that Tom had never written a line of code for the protocol. His role had been purely supervisory, and his technical understanding of the system was surface level at best. During the few meetings where I'd tried to explain the technical details, he'd spent most of the time checking his phone or making dismissive comments about how it would never work in the real world. I had to laugh. I still had all the original code commits, documentation, and the email chain where Tom had dismissed the entire project. My lawyer sent a comprehensive response, including a countersuit for defamation. This morning, I received panicked messages from both of them, begging me to drop the countersuit, saying they couldn't afford any legal fees. I haven't responded yet. The thing is, I'm not even angry anymore. 7 years ago, they thought they were taking everything from me, but they actually gave me something priceless: freedom. Freedom from a marriage that wasn't what I thought it was, freedom from a friendship that had no real loyalty, freedom to rebuild myself into someone stronger. Update. It's been a month since my last post, and a lot has happened. The response to my story was overwhelming, and it made me think hard about how I wanted to handle this situation. After my lawyer sent the response threatening the countersuit, Tom and Sarah both tried to reach out multiple times. They sent emails, left voicemails, and even tried to contact me through mutual friends. Their messages ranged from apologetic to angry to desperate. Last week, I agreed to meet them at a coffee shop, not because I wanted to help them, but because I wanted closure. They looked different than I remembered: older, tired, worn down by their problems. Sarah had lost her polished lawyer look, and Tom's confident smile was gone. They spent the first 20 minutes apologizing, explaining how they'd grown up and realized their mistakes. Sarah was wearing a dress I recognized from our marriage, one she used to save for special occasions. Now it looked worn and slightly dated, like their excuses. Tom couldn't seem to meet my eyes, his confident demeanor replaced by nervous fidgeting with his coffee cup. The gold wedding band on his finger was conspicuously absent. I noticed how they kept glancing at each other before speaking, still coordinating their responses like they had during the divorce. But now their perfectly crafted narrative had cracks in it. Sarah's voice trembled slightly when she talked about their mistakes, and Tom's rehearsed speech about personal growth was interrupted by periodic glances at his phone, probably checking for emails about job opportunities. Then they got to the real reason for wanting to meet. They had a business proposition. The way they presented it was almost comical, as if they were doing me a favor by offering to attach their names to my success. Their plan was to start a cybersecurity consulting firm, with my backing. They would handle client relations and business development, leveraging their extensive networks, the same networks that were now ignoring their calls, while I provided the technical expertise and funding. They wanted to start a cybersecurity consulting firm, with my backing. They'd be the face of the company, handling client relations and business development, while I provided the technical expertise and funding. I listened to their entire pitch without interrupting. Then I told them something that seemed to genuinely shock them: "I forgive you." I explained that I forgave them not because they deserved it, but because holding on to anger wasn't serving me anymore. However, forgiveness doesn't mean trust, and it certainly doesn't mean going into business together. I did make them an offer, though. Not the one they wanted, but one they needed. I would pay for credit counseling and career coaching for both of them, on the condition that they moved to a different city and never contact me again. The offer would cover 6 months of intensive financial planning, job search assistance, and even temporary housing support while they got back on their feet. It wasn't cheap, but it was less than what I now spent on office supplies in a month. I could see the exact moment they realized this was the best offer they were going to get. Sarah's lawyer mask cracked completely, and she started crying, not the elegant tears she used to shed when we argued, but ugly, desperate sobs. Tom just sat there, staring at his coffee like it held the answers to how his life had gone so wrong. "Why?" Sarah finally asked. "Why would you help us at all?" I thought about it for a moment before answering. Because 7 years ago, I was living in my car, eating ramen noodles, and coding in a 24-hour coffee shop because I couldn't afford to heat my apartment. Nobody helped me then. Nobody offered me an easy way out. And it turns out, that was the best thing that could have happened to me. So consider this me paying it forward. I'm giving you the chance to rebuild, but you'll have to do the hard work yourselves. They'd have a chance to rebuild their lives, just as I had to rebuild mine, but they'd have to do the actual work themselves. They accepted, mostly because they had no other options. My lawyer is drawing up the paperwork now, a legal agreement that includes a strict no-contact clause and NDA. Some might say I'm being too generous to people who betrayed me, while others might think I'm being petty by making them move away. But this isn't about them anymore. It's about me choosing to end this chapter of my life on my own terms. Final update. 6 months have passed since my last update, and I'm finally ready to close this chapter of my life for good. The legal agreement with Tom and Sarah was finalized last month, a comprehensive document that not only outlined the terms of their relocation and the support I would provide but also included strict confidentiality clauses and non-disparagement agreements. My lawyer thought I was being too generous, but I saw it as buying my peace of mind. They moved across the country to Arizona, about as far from our East Coast roots as they could get while staying in the continental U.S. Through the career coaching service I arranged, Tom found a job in IT sales at a mid-sized company, not the executive position he used to have, but enough to start rebuilding his life. Sarah passed the bar in their new state and is working at a small family law firm, handling divorces and custody cases. There's probably some cosmic irony there. The coaching service sends me monthly progress reports, not because I asked for them, but because I'm technically the client. Sarah's been taking night classes in meditation and stress management. Tom joined a support group for men dealing with career transitions. They're both in therapy, separately this time. It's strange to have this window into their lives, like watching characters in a TV show I used to star in but have now outgrown. As for me, I recently sold my company to a major tech conglomerate for an amount that still doesn't feel quite real. The deal made headlines in all the major tech publications, and my phone hasn't stopped buzzing with congratulations from people I haven't heard from in years. I stayed on as a consultant but stepped back from day-to-day operations, mainly because I wanted the freedom to explore new ideas and projects without the pressure of running a large organization. The transition has been both easier and harder than I expected. Easier because I no longer have to be the face of the company, attending endless meetings and managing other people's expectations. Harder because for the first time in 7 years, I have space to really process everything that happened. Sometimes I find myself sitting in my penthouse, looking out over the city lights, and wondering about the parallel universe where Sarah and I stayed together, where Tom remained my best friend, where I never had to rebuild my life from scratch. But then I remember something my therapist told me during one of our sessions. Some people spend their whole lives in comfortable cages, never realizing they're trapped until it's too late to fly. Sarah and Tom did me a favor, really. They broke my cage, pushed me out of the nest, forced me to either fly or fall. And somehow, in trying not to fall, I learned to soar. The time and space have helped me realize something. The best revenge isn't about watching your enemies fail, it's about succeeding so completely that their existence becomes irrelevant. I'm sharing this story one last time because I want others who have been betrayed to know something. Rock bottom can be a foundation. Sometimes, losing everything is just life's way of clearing space for something better. I recently started dating someone new, Emma, a professor of computer science I met at a tech conference. She's brilliant, kind, and most importantly, completely different from Sarah. She knows my story. I told her everything on our third date, wanting to be completely honest about my baggage. The other day, as we were having dinner at my place, I finally learned to cook, another victory. She asked if I regret any of it. I took a moment to really think about it. I thought about the nights spent sleeping in my car, the endless cups of coffee that were sometimes my only meal of the day, the crushing loneliness of starting over in a new city where I knew no one. I thought about the betrayal that still sometimes wakes me up at night, the trust issues I've had to work through in therapy, the years of my life I spent devoted to someone who didn't deserve it. But then I thought about who I've become. The company I built from nothing. The lives we've improved with our security solutions. The jobs we've created. The person I am now, stronger, wiser, more confident. The ability to have a healthy relationship with someone like Emma, who sees me for who I really am, not who she wants me to be. I told her the truth. I regret the years I spent not seeing what was right in front of me, but I don't regret anything that happened after. Every setback, every struggle, every moment of doubt led me here. And here, it turns out, is exactly where I'm supposed to be.